Breakfast, the legendary Ross Wilson joins us to look back at the days of Daddy Cool and forward to a new tour.
And a story of recovery. We speak to the author who's written a new children's book about the heroes of the Black Summer bushfires. See you Monday.
The culture of Parliament House works like no other I know.
I saw things that I thought were reprehensible.
Dragged his hand right up my leg.
Perfectly normal.
Misrepresented, Tuesday on ABC and streaming on iView.
The best actors in some of their most astonishing roles.
We're going to make history.
These aren't your everyday movies, but you can stream them every day for free on iView. Friday, a couple with no experience.
My townie boots are getting a good workout today.
A blank canvas.
Have they bitten off more than they can chew?
And a 10-year plan.
Of course it can fail, and it could fail spectacularly.
Oh my word.
All new Dream Gardens. Friday at 8 on ABC TV or streaming on iView.
If you don't push yourself, you don't know how far you can go.
A courageous couple resurrect a broken building.
Probably never lived in, never designed to be lived in.
And it's not just their budget buckling under pressure.
This is everything we've got. Failure isn't an option here.
Grand Designs, next Sunday on ABC TV and streaming on iView.
Name, Charlie. Email address, Pickering. Whoa, inside voice. Let's not tell the whole nation my email address. Hi, I'm just sitting here setting up my new ABC account. By providing some personal information, the ABC will be able to give you more of what you love based on what you watch. You'll need an account to stream shows on ABC iView. You can also use it for other ABC apps and websites. Go to the website for more info.
Another day of more than 100 new cases as construction sites set to grind to a halt in Sydney.
We won't see the effects of these harsher restrictions until at least 5 or 6 days.
South Australia shrinks its border bubble after Victoria's outbreak spreads to the regions. An outspoken Conservative commentator dropped from a reality TV show after breaching quarantine rules.
Welcome to Tokyo!
And Australia's Olympic team arrives in Tokyo as more athletes test positive for COVID in the Athletes' Village. Hello there, this is ABC News with me, Mariam Saab. New South Wales recorded its third highest daily total of new infections since the Delta outbreak began last month. The state's Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, is warning that it could take up to 5 days before the tougher restrictions are reflected in the numbers.
Step by step, this lockdown has become harder. All non-essential retail has now shut down after the Premier's directive yesterday.
I can appreciate what a shock and what a frustrating set of circumstances it was for many in the community.
Yesterday brought tragedy too. A woman in her 90s from southeastern Sydney died in hospital from COVID-19. New South Wales has recorded 105 new cases. 66 of those can be linked. 76 are in southwestern Sydney. And at least 34 cases were in the community while infectious.
We won't see the effects of these harsher restrictions until at least 5 or 6 days because there's a lag in the data.
Almost 67,000 tests were done yesterday. Turnaround times have become slower and the tests of close contacts or those who've been at exposure sites are being prioritised.
Our pathology testing capacity is exceedingly good, but it is limited. Although we can do a little bit more, it's really reaching close to that threshold.
Despite this, surveillance testing is being increased. All workers who live in Fairfield but work outside that area still have to get tested every 3 days. Now, for people living in the Liverpool and Canterbury Bankstown areas, the same rule will apply to everyone who works in healthcare or aged care.
We're asking you to choose a day between now and Wednesday to start that, so it's staggered and we don't have the congestion on the roads or also around our clinics.
Those 3 areas are also now subject to tougher rules, and people living there can only leave their area for government-defined authorised work. Yesterday, the Premier announced that would only be emergency service workers, as well as healthcare, aged care or disability workers. But later it was revealed there would be other occupations too, including teachers, retail workers, warehouse workers, delivery drivers and coffin manufacturers.
We've been very open-minded as to the workers that can leave.
It's an extensive list that allows many more people from the Fairfield, Canterbury, Bankstown and Liverpool areas to leave for work than was indicated when the rule was announced yesterday. So, not for the first time this lockdown, the government's messaging is confusing. And the list may change again.
I won't rule out tweaks in the next few days to make sure we haven't missed anything. Dr Chan's advice might become different as well.
Public transport services in Sydney have also been scaled back for the next 2 weeks.
Victoria's COVID outbreak has spread to the border, with the city of Mildura on high alert after the city's first case in over a year. As the Premier prepares to announce whether the lockdown will be extended, the Mildura case is underlining just how easily the virus can spread.
It's about as far from Melbourne as you can get without crossing state lines. Now COVID's even made its way here.
There's a lot of anxious people out there.
A man in his 30s presented at Mildura Base Hospital last night with coronavirus symptoms. He tested positive this morning.
I got the phone call at 8:30 this morning and we were ready to go by 10:30.
We need to be aware and prepared to deal with the things we have to do to stop the cases from spreading.
At least 6 hospital staff are now in isolation. It's not known how long he had been infectious in the community. He's said to be recovering well.
I think the Mildura case just demonstrates the state, from a virus point of view, the state's a lot smaller than it might seem.
The regional city is bracing for possible exposure sites. There are now more than 220 listed in and around Melbourne, with dozens added today. It's believed the Mildura man was infected at the AFL last Saturday, becoming the 6th person to get the virus at the MCG. And 2 people have contracted the virus at Amy Park on Tuesday evening when the Wallabies played France. Exposure sites there have been expanded.
If you entered through Gate 7 between 7:56 and 8:13 p.m, you must immediately isolate, get tested and quarantine.
Soccer fans are also on notice. After a positive case attended the Crafty Squire in Melbourne's CBD with 400 others in the early hours of Monday to watch the Euro final.
I'm sure there will have been shouting or for the English crying, so risk of transmission by virtue of that.
There have been 5 more cases at Ms Frankie's Cafe in Cremorne. Trinity College cases have grown to 12 and there's been another at Bacchus Marsh Grammar. Some businesses there have posted on social media to say that they are exposure sites because they weren't initially listed on the official Department of Health site.
We always, and we have to, prioritise what are the exposure sites we're really going to drive proactively and what are the ones we're putting out for the community to be aware of.
Last drinks before lockdown on Thursday night have proven costly for people at several inner city venues who now have to isolate after a positive case attended. But no news is good news on Phillip Island, with no cases reported there today. Jessica Longbottom, ABC News, Melbourne.
Britain's Prime Minister and Chancellor are in self-isolation after contact with Health Secretary Sajid Javid, who's tested positive for COVID-19. Downing Street had initially said that Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak would be taking part in a pilot program which daily tests replace self-isolation. The pair will go into isolation as the rest of the country prepares to farewell restrictions.
A midnight countdown of a different kind.
We've got a Freedom Day party tomorrow, so we've got a big party and then we're cutting a ribbon at 12 o'clock and everyone's going to be on the dance floor, and I think it's going to be the most magical moment.
I'm excited to go out and have a good time and there'll be no limitations.
Elaine, how are you doing? The celebration has the endorsement of 10 Downing Street, but not scientists.
I predict that when the nightclubs open, you will see a surge of cases because that population is not fully vaccinated. That's the perfect mixing vessel for the virus to spread and to even generate new variants. And that's what I'm concerned that we're going to see.
Infection rates are already back at more than 50,000 a day, rising towards their record peaks in January. But the British government insists that's part of the strategy, forecasting as many as 100,000 cases daily.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to update you all that I've tested positive for COVID.
The Health Secretary is one of them.
How are you? Nice to meet you, Arca.
Sajid Javid's coronavirus symptoms emerged just days after he visited a London aged care home. He's reassured that he is fully immunised and his symptoms are mild. Health workers warn that's not the case for many others, with a third of adults still to receive their second jab.
It's those hospital admissions that are causing real concern at the moment, and the projections of how they could go are quite alarming. So it's not the situation we wanted to be in. We didn't want to be opening up really in quite a dramatic way at a time when we have so many infections.
Squeeze my hand again.
With restrictions to lift tomorrow, Freedom Day might only mean freedom for some. Samantha Hawley, ABC News, London.
A controversial reality TV contestant is facing deportation to Britain after boasting her defiance of hotel quarantine rules in Sydney. The outspoken Conservative commentator Katie Hopkins' open scorn for COVID restrictions has brought renewed focus on Australians stranded overseas. Political editor Andrew Probyn explains.
My name's Katie Hopkins and I'm best known for telling it like it is.
Katie Hopkins has made a career causing outrage and offence.
I'm unpopular. I'm known as the biggest bitch in Britain.
She's managed to get to Sydney, taking up a rare hotel quarantine spot.
I have always called lockdown the greatest hoax in human history.
Mocking Australia's COVID response and her mandatory 2-week isolation.
Get to the door and spring it open and do it naked with no face mask.
Why is Scott Morrison bringing in a right-wing nutjob from overseas when he's got plenty in his own government?
Scheduled to appear on Channel 7's Big Brother programme, Katie Hopkins is now a dead cert for early eviction.
I'm so sorry, were you still talking?
I'm the one who wanted to send home Johnny Depp's dogs. So they've got no problem sending home someone who wants to flout our laws. They want to flout our laws, then you pack your bongo and get out of the country.
The visa should be revoked, she should be deported and she should be put on the first plane home.
That appears likely. Border Force is looking to see whether Katie Hopkins breached her visa conditions, although Channel 7's already booted her from the show. As if to offset blame, the Home Affairs Minister says it was the New South Wales government that supported Hopkins coming outside the quarantine cap, which is already constrained, mind you, because of various hotel breaches and the low vaccination rate.
35,000 Australians want to get home, but instead of them being able to get home, we get this self-serving media troll welcomed in by the federal government.
Our goal is to bring as many Australians home as early as possible.
It's bullshit that I'm here and you can't.
Well, at least she got one thing right. Woo! Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
The pandemic-hit Games in Tokyo have been dealt another blow, with 3 more athletes inside the Olympic Village now testing positive. It's also emerged that a COVID scare plunged the entire Australian track and field team into lockdown. North Asia correspondent Jake Sturmer reports from Tokyo.
As our biggest contingent of athletes arrived in Japan, the Tokyo dream was one step closer.
Welcome to Tokyo! Well, we're expecting 6 hours wait here. I'm not sure. I didn't time it, but 4.5. 4.5. Oh, good. It was a PB. So we got out faster than we expected. So happy with that.
78. They were greeted with news of a positive case in the village they'd be calling home for the next few weeks.
Are you concerned to hear that there's a positive case in the village?
Yeah, we've heard that, but you know, they've got protocols in place and we'll look after ourselves, so we'll be safe.
But more athletes are testing positive. The Olympic Committee says it's taking action to stop the spread.
What we have done since cases have appeared at the airport, or for that matter yesterday in the village, is exactly that. Make sure that those populations are ring-fenced, tested, so that they do not present a risk.
Outside of the village, this is what Tokyo looks like in a state of emergency. This week, the capital's 2 professional baseball teams faced off in an intercity clash, with thousands of fans allowed in thanks to strong countermeasures developed throughout the pandemic.
A few weeks ago, this was the gold standard. Olympic organisers pointed to professional Japanese sport as a proven example major events could happen safely with spectators. Now Olympic organisers say replicating this at the scale of the Games can no longer be done safely. So what's changed?
Rising infections combined with a less than stellar result in recent local government elections sparked jitters over the potential health and political consequences of the Games.
We're in Tokyo!
It's emerged that as most of the Australian athletes touched down in Tokyo, the track and field team were in lockdown in Cairns. That's because of an initial inconclusive test from a staff member who's since tested negative. A COVID scare survived, but the risk in Japan on their arrival remains.
We were always aware that there could be COVID in the village.
The Olympic bubble is being put to the ultimate test, so the athletes get the chance to have theirs. Jake Sturmer, ABC News, Tokyo.
Well, it's time for a quick look at the weather in our capital cities for Monday before we leave you. Mostly sunny in Brisbane, partly cloudy in Sydney with a top of 16. Overcast in Canberra, a top of 10. A shower or two developing there in Melbourne. Cloudy in Hobart, a shower or two in Adelaide, rain in Perth, and mostly sunny in Darwin with a top there of 33 degrees. Well, that is the latest from ABC News. Remember, you can keep up to date with us at news.abc.net.au and on iView. I'm Mariam Saab. Thank you for watching. We'll leave you with pictures from the Hajj pilgrimage in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Vaccinated Muslim pilgrims there circling Islam's holiest site, remaining socially distanced and wearing masks. A cap on numbers saw participants chosen through a lottery for the second Hajj during COVID times. You're watching ABC News.